We are your entertainment ticket, that's right. YETicket.com. We are your entertainment ticket, that's right. YETicket.com. YETicket.com.
Hey, this is Al McGee with your entertainment ticket at www.yeticket.com. Hey, the film I'm going to talk about right now is called The Longest Ride. This is directed by George Tillman Jr. Now, this is based on Nicholas Sparks' novel, The Longest Ride, and she's also one of the screenwriters with Craig Bolotin. In this stars Britt Robertson, Una Chaplin, Scott Eastwood, Alda, and Jack Houston. Well, this film is similar to another Nicholas Sparks film, The Best of Me, where in this one, the same thing happens. You got two separate couples, how their love lives develop, and how they have two different stories. For example, in this, The Longest Ride, Luke and Sophia, they're the two main characters. Luke is a bull, rider. He rides cows or bull cows, whatever it is, bull riding. He's in the rodeo. Sophia's an art student. Now, it's easy for me to say that one or to think of that one, right? But she's an art student at a college there in North Carolina. They're in North Carolina now, remember this. Now, Luke wants to be the best bull rider of all time. But before he met Sophia, a year before that, he had a terrible accident. Well, in fact, it kept him off the circuit for a year because of his condition that he has riding the bulls. And Sophia, she's an art student, and she has a internship in a couple of months in New York City. Now, she's from Europe. She came from Europe and started living in America some time ago. And then she got a scholarship to the school there in North Carolina. But anyway, they meet at a show. She saw him riding the bulls. Those are male cows. And they meet, and then they go on a date. On their first date, they had a great time. So returning home, Luke sees a car accident, pulls an old man out of the car. The old man mumbles, "Grab my box." Sophia grabs the box out of the car. They take him to the hospital. Now, that person is Ira Levinson. Ira Levinson starts talking to Sophia, and here we go with the similarities of the last one. Starts telling him about his wife, Ruth. He started talking about their love, how they met in the 1940s. In fact, Ruth is from Europe also, but she fled because she's Jewish, and she had to flee because in the early 1940s, 1939, Hitler was coming. He did come. They had to flee. So they met in a city in North Carolina. And he talks about their relationship. And their relationship was basically this, he went to war. He got wounded. And, his wife wanted to have a lot of kids, but she couldn't because Ira got wounded in World War II where he couldn't have kids. So instead of having kids, they brought a lot of art. Hey, that story seems familiar too, right? But she wanted kids, but they endured and they had a life together. Luke and Sophia, they had their problems on trying to develop their relationship and trying to figure out what they're going to do with their future. That's the gist of The Longest Ride. The problems that I had with George Tillman and the writers is that this film is so nice. Everything around it is so nice. All the people are nice. The city of North Carolina, they're nice. All the characters are nice. In fact, this movie is so nice when Scott and Britt are together for the lovemaking scenes. You only see Scott's chest and his abs, but you don't see Britt's chest, abs, not even her naked behind. That makes this film so nice. Also, I couldn't really believe that Alda is playing an older Ira, and then Jack Houston playing a younger Ira. I couldn't put those two actors together to make this one character. So that didn't make it believable for me. And what is Sparks really saying about people and things in this film? For example, she seemed to take cracks at modern art, big city living, and childless couples. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. And the director, George Tillman Jr., he made this so straightforward and so nice, I really couldn't enjoy it. And also, it's hard for me to totally believe that this film is that nice. And, you know, for example, Luke's mom, you know, she knew he needed to stop riding, but, you know, they were arguing, well, a couple of argument words, and then the scene is over. I just couldn't get into that. I wanted to, but they wouldn't let me. And that's the problem that I had with The Longest Ride. They wouldn't let me in deeper. They wouldn't let me into these characters any deeper. They wouldn't let me get into the story any deeper. And also their surroundings there in North Carolina. We know about North Carolina and its history with minorities and Jews and blacks and things like that. But none of that came out. That's why I said this film was just too nice for me. And if you like these type of films, you will love it. But I didn't. I'm only giving this 1.5 palm trees out of 4. 1.5 out of 4. Too nice for me. But I'm a nice guy. But this film is just too nice.
This is your entertainment ticket. Latest and greatest.